Good morning. I think for the first time ever, I decided to bring my breakfast outside. This is my standard breakfast. It's very creamy coffee. It's good coffee. It's Costa Rican, and hot buttered toast. I have loved buttered toast since I was a very small child. Well, I wanted the dogs to come out because it's really cool, like cool. But it feels good after that hot summer. And they love to sit out in the yard with their noses up in the air and just smell. Tricky always smells to the west, which is that way. But they're out doing their business. The chickens are up. I just spent about a half hour collecting all of the twigs and branches out of the yard, as you know what I'm going to do with those. But mostly, this weather just makes me happy. It's cool and brisk. I don't know why this weather makes me feel so alive, and summer weather makes me feel utterly dead inside. I don't know why, but that's how it is. We're all different. So I'm here on the porch with that sunset, that shade sail up there. I guess we're to the point we don't need it anymore, maybe. I took it down for the store. Here comes Bobo. Well, I'm going to have my breakfast. I have no idea what I'm going to put on this video for you. But first it's breakfast. That's some good toast. I'm back inside now. The first thing that I decided to do today in my studio is some spinning, because I'm spinning some new yarn that is a nervous experiment for me. You know, I've been doing all this knit felting of slippers, and I have all this yarn that I bought just for that purpose. And I think I told you before, it is chunky single ply. Okay, it's about a size 5 weight in US yarn, but it's a single ply, and they call it roving. It's thick. It's not massive like a super chunky, but it's a size 5. So I wondered if I could spin that myself, but I was really afraid to try. I've only ever done plied yarns where you have a single, and you ply them together, and you ply them in the opposite direction to do what they call balancing the twist. So if you have a single ply, how do you balance the twist in that yarn? You can't do it the other way and untwist it. So I looked online at a couple of videos. There were some people, well, one woman said she did say when you're doing the single, if you want it nice and thick, to turn your tension on high so that it feeds into the orifice really fast before it can get too much twist in it. And then you have to hold the yarn as you're feeding it in really close to the orifice so that it doesn't have much time to twist before it gets in there. And you have to treadle really slowly so it doesn't put much twist into the yarn. So it's totally different from what I've done before, where you're trying to back up and get a long, thin thread. You don't want that. Also, the yarn you want to use, she did say this was helpful. She said you should do something that's lofty and full of air. You don't want anything smooth and straight like merino, which tends to get really thin. You want something that's going to keep the air in it. All of this, I think, should help me get a yarn that would felt well. So I'm going to turn this around and show you what I've been doing. I don't know if I'll show you while I'm doing it, because it is still a pretty nervous thing to do. But I want to show you what it looks like on the bobbin. Okay, so this is what it's looking like. It's nice and thick. I'm a little bit better at getting it consistent. You can see it does have a good bit of twist in it. Because I'm going to take it off and steam it and thwack it and stuff, I guess I need to allow for it to lose some of its twist. This is what it looks like as it's going in. This is the roving that I got from the store in Franklin, North Carolina. And you see what the roving looks like. It's really pretty thin. It's almost thin enough to spin it straight in like that, but not quite. So I do have to just pull it apart a little teeny bit before I let it go in. So anyway, this is what it's looking like, and I'm hoping that I might be able to make a pair of slippers with this. We'll see. thought I should show you what it looked like when it came off the Nitty Knotty. Look at that. It's got so much twist in there. It's got a lot of thick and thin. I've spun and plied yarn that looked like this before when I took it off, that was this curly. And then after you steam it and thwack it, it does come out straight. But I don't know what this is going to do because it only has that one twist going one way. We're going to have to go see. I hope I can knit with it. That's a question. Now here's this yarn. When I first took it out of the steamer, it looked exactly like when I put it in. And even now, you see all those little curly cues. So I thwacked it really, really well against the door jamb. But that's not all it needs. I'm going to hang it to dry. But I'm also going to put this big heavy bottle, I'm going to loop it around the bottom of the loop to pull it down so that when it's drying, it'll look more like this. A little less twisty. I'm not real pleased with this. I think this was a poor experiment. This was, I think, about 4 ounces, maybe a little less, of domestic top at $2.50 an ounce. That's about $10 worth of yarn fiber. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Very experimental, perhaps a little foolish. Okay, well, here it is. A little worse for wear, as they say. I'm cautiously pleased with this. I know that sounds ridiculous because it looks kind of awful. There's all these big fuzzy bits that looks like they didn't spin at all. But you can still knit this if you're careful with your needles. That's not hard to do. Honestly, let me get this out. So here's the yarn I've been using to make slippers that I'm so pleased with. And now it's very consistent, but of course it's made, I'm sure, on a machine. But you see it has a very loose twist. And I'm kind of going for that, like in a piece like this. I'm hoping I can get more and more consistent, so eventually mine will look like theirs more, because I want to be able, I'd love to be able to make my own yarn for making slippers. And let me show you how the slippers are going. I can now perfectly consistently make a pair of slippers that look like this, okay? As long as I use the right yarn, as long as I use the pattern that I like. It has a nice rounded opening here, a nice firm heel. It's fully felted. There's no stitch definition at all. I have a lot of that blue, so most of them are predominantly blue, although the pair I'm making right now is blue with a little, I'm going to do a band of this maroon. It looks really good in the middle. So it'll look like this, but it'll have a blue end and it'll have a maroon band going right through the middle right here. I like that look a lot. This is about a size 7. They have a lot of give in them, so it's not a rigid sizing. So I made this a little smaller. Let me remind you, anybody who's interested and you want just a real quick reminder of what the pattern is. You cast on 36 stitches here. The needles are, I think, at 10.5, okay? And you cast on 36, and then from here to where you join to go into the round, that's 27 rows. The 27th row is the one where you start going into the round. And by the time you get up here, you can go ahead and stitch up that heel and you'll have your first part. And then this is where the sizing comes in, because if you go 21 more rows before you start reducing, then you'll get a size 9. This is 17 rows. So every time you cut back 2 rows in this section right here, you lose about a size. Okay, so if I did 19 rows, I get a size 8. 21 rows is a size 9. And then at 21 rows, you start this reduction here. And that might be like 5 or 6 rows there. You just reduce until you get to the end. A fairly quick reduction. Anyway, I'm very, very pleased with these slippers, and I want to be able to make them indefinitely. And I'm not, I don't know, I'm not wild about paying the prices that I would have to pay for that yarn from Joann's. So I'd like to be able to do my own, but this isn't cheap either. This is almost $10, and this is not enough to make a pair of slippers. So I have to make some more, and I'm going to use exactly the same roving. This is called Domestic Top, whatever that means. It's kind of fuzzy, a little scratchy fuzzy, not very scratchy, it's actually pretty soft. And when I knit it, when I spin it, excuse me, I just pull it apart very little, just so the fibers kind of release from each other before I feed it in. But again, all of that gave me this. Okay, so after I get done with the pair of slippers I'm working on right now, with that burgundy band in the middle, then I'm going to make a pair with this stuff and see how it goes. And they may be kind of weird, and I may have to wear them myself. I think these two colors will go nicely together in a pair of slippers, because I'll have to use 2 different colors. Isn't that crazy? Making your own yarn is a silly thing that spinners do when you can buy it at the store any day of the week, but we do love to spin. It's a couple of days later, and I did go ahead and spin up this color. And before I publish on this video, I just wanted to compare these two, because I think that a little bit of practice makes a big difference. Now on this one, I've got a fuzzy end here and a fuzzy end here, and those are the 2 ends, and because they become untwisted because they don't have any tension on them when you cut them off. But otherwise, the rest of it is much more consistent than this is. Matter of fact, wait just a second and let me show you something. Here's this Manos del Uruguay yarn that felted beautifully, and it's very much like the stuff that I've just done. See this? I don't even know if I have any that's that thick or that thin, but it's quite similar. See that? A loose single ply, a little bit of variation, not as much as this. But now I wouldn't knit this for a knitted garment, but for a felted garment, I think that all these big fuzzy spots are gonna do just fine. They'll felt together. We'll see about that. But this I'm very pleased with. And I don't know if you can see, but the color quality of this yarn is so much better than when it was in the roving. It has little speckles of red and green in there in addition to the gold. It's just really beautiful. So I don't know if that's coming through. Can you see it? Anyway, I'm pretty tickled about that. Okay, so I'm still working on this pair. When I'm done with that, I'm going to start on this pair. I think I might designate this for me. All right. Thanks for joining me, and check in next time. Oh, and I mean to say, like, subscribe, ring the bell, leave a comment. I love your comments. Because I'm now up to 954 subscribers, which is outrageous. I'm almost to 1,000, which is some kind of a benchmark, or, you know, something important. But thanks for watching, and thanks for joining me. I'm sorry about the glary glasses. All right, so we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.